Today's objective is dimensional analysis, and it's basic. Dimensional analysis is a really big term, but all it means is changing from one unit of measure to another, okay? You can impress people saying you know how to do dimensional analysis, but if you're changing from hours to minutes, or gallons to cups, or feet to miles, that's dimensional analysis, okay? Dollars to dimes, quarters to dollars. Anytime you change between your units, it's what they call dimensional analysis. So, for example, I want to change I'm asking you 45 miles per hour equals how many feet per hour? Okay, so the hour is staying the same, but miles and feet are changing. Now, I'm going to read these directions, and these are really important, so I want you to write them down after I've read them. Number 1, set up a ratio with the words only first. And that's what I have here. I have my 45 miles for 1 hour, that's my original problem, equals, I drew a line and I put in my words, and I have my equal sign, but I don't have any other numbers in here. And this will make sense as we go on. Number 2, write the units, the word or words that is changing diagonal to the original ratio. So I'm changing here miles to feet. So when I wrote my first one set up, I want to change miles. So since miles was in the numerator, I make sure to write it in the denominator. Because if you notice, this is now fraction multiplication. And remember, with fraction multiplication, we want to simplify as much as we can before we multiply. And that's how we simplify, is having one term or number in the numerator and the other in the denominator. All right, then you fill in the numbers. Then you cancel with the words and reduce the numbers, and you write your final answer. So let's see what I'm talking about. 45 miles per hour changing to feet per hour. 45 miles in the numerator, per is your division line, 1 hour in the denominator. And I like to put the 1 in front of it here just so I remember what I'm multiplying by. Now I want to change miles, so I have it, since it's in the numerator, I write it in the denominator, and then I want to change from miles to feet, so that's the other word that I write. Now I put in the conversion. So I know that 5,280 feet is 1 mile, okay? So now I'm ready to simplify. I can simplify miles and miles, and now I have hours and feet left is what I want, hours and feet, and now I need to multiply this. And I did not multiply it in advance, so let's just multiply it now. I'll multiply over here, I guess. 5,280 times 45. Well, this will be 0, 0, carry the 4. 5 times 2 is 10 plus 14, 26. This is pretty funny that I forgot to multiply this. Bring down the 0, 0, 8, 32, 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 21. Now if I add that, I don't want to write it over this, I would have 0, 0, 6, 7, 3, 2. Wow, that's a lot. Okay, so 45 miles per hour equals 237,600, and what's left? The word on top? Feet, and what's left in the denominator? For 1 hour. So that's pretty interesting. If you drive 45 miles in 1 hour, it's 237,600 feet. Who cares, right? Well, you might care at some point. Okay, let's do another one. 450 miles in 20 seconds equals how many miles per minute, per 1 minute? If it doesn't say a unit, remember it's always 1. So this time I'm not changing the miles, this time I'm changing the time. So when I set it up, since miles isn't going to change, I don't care about that, I'm changing from seconds to minutes. Since seconds is in the denominator, I write seconds up here, and I want to change it to minutes, so that's my other word. So the whole key is to write your words diagonally. Then we will put in our numbers. So there's 60 seconds in 1 minute. Now I can cancel. So I can cancel the words, anything diagonally in a fraction I can cancel. And what about 20 and 60? Well, why don't we do this first? Why don't we cancel the zeros, because that's like dividing by 10. And now I can reduce this 2 with this 60 and write 30. And now what I'm doing, all I have left is to multiply, because this turned into a 1, right? 45 times 3. Well, 40 times 3 is 120. 5 times 3 is what? 15. So 120 plus 15 is 135 plus my 0. So 45 times 30 is 1,350. And what's my word that's left? Miles. And what's my word on the bottom? Minute. And I'll put the 1 in. So think about it. If you are on a jet, you must be going very fast, to go 450 miles in 20 seconds, okay, now you're on a rocket ship. How far can you go in a minute? 1,350 miles in a minute. That'd be pretty cool. You must be on a rocket ship. Okay, let's do one more. $840 per week equals how many dollars per day? Well, what is it that we want to change? We want to change weeks to days. Now I know I don't want you getting frustrated with this. This is something that a lot of you just convert in your head, and I need you to set it up and convert it this way with your words diagonally, because the next lesson is multi-step and you're not going to be able to do it in your head. Okay? So you need to understand how to set this up, which is these directions. So let's change week to days. So since week is in the denominator, where do I need to put it? The numerator. And you're allowed to abbreviate. And I want to change it to days. Now I'll plug in my numbers. 1 week equals 7 days. See, depending on what we want to change, that affects where we put our numbers. So that's why I don't want you to put your numbers in first, because that might either mess you up with the wrong conversion, or you'll put your words in the wrong place and won't be able to simplify. So now I can cross out week and week. And now I have 7 into 840. Does 7 go into 84? Ah, yes, it does. How many times? 12. And then add my 0 back. So now my problem is just 120 times 1 over 1 times 1. So that's pretty nice. So 120 times 1 is still $120. And this is 1. And the word is day. So I'll write 1 day. So if you make $840 per week, assuming it's a 7-day week, which is what we always assume on these unless told differently, then you would make $120 per day. And that's it for our basic dimensional analysis.